The Haunting of Red River, A Tale of the Bell Witch. John, a young man from the city, decides to move to the small town of Red River in Tennessee. He has heard stories about the Bell Witch, a malevolent entity that supposedly haunts the area, but he dismisses them as mere superstition. He is excited to start a new life and to live in a peaceful place away from the hustle and bustle of the city. Upon arriving in Red River, John moves into an old house that has been vacant for some time. At first, he enjoys the peace and quiet of the town, and he starts to settle in. However, strange things start to happen in the house at night. John hears strange noises and feels a presence in the room with him. He dismisses them as his imagination, but as time goes on, the occurrences become more frequent and more intense. John begins to feel uneasy in the house and starts to research the history of Red River. He learns about the Bell Witch legend and starts to wonder if there is any truth to it. Despite his growing fear, John tries to rationalize the strange occurrences and convince himself that there must be a logical explanation. However, as the events become more and more frightening, John realizes that he may be in real danger. As the strange occurrences in John's house become more frequent and more intense, he starts to document them in a journal. He writes about the unexplained noises he hears, the feeling of being watched, and even physical sensations like being touched or pushed. He tries to find rational explanations for these events, but nothing seems to make sense. John starts to feel like he's losing his mind. He becomes paranoid and begins to avoid going home, spending as much time as possible in the town or at work. He starts to distance himself from his friends and family, not wanting to burden them with his problems. One day, John decides to set up a camera in his room to see if he can capture any of the strange occurrences on film. When he reviews the footage, he is shocked to see that his suspicions were true. The camera captures a blurry figure moving around his room and even appearing to interact with objects. John realizes that he can no longer deny the existence of the supernatural. He starts to research the history of the Bell Witch legend more intensely, trying to find a way to protect himself and put an end to the haunting. However, the more he learns, the more he realizes how much danger he's in. As John's fear and paranoia continue to grow, he decides that he needs help to deal with the haunting in his house. He starts to ask around town to see if anyone has experienced anything similar, or if they know of any experts in the supernatural. One day, John meets an elderly woman named Martha, who tells him that she has heard of the Bell Witch before. She explains that the Bell family was haunted by the witch for years, and that their story has become a legend in the area. Martha suggests that John contact a man named James, who is an expert in the Bell Witch legend and the supernatural. John contacts James and explains his situation. James agrees to come to Red River to investigate the haunting and try to help John. When James arrives, he starts to conduct his own investigation, setting up equipment to capture evidence of the supernatural activity. James concludes that the Bell Witch is indeed haunting John's house, and that it is a powerful and malevolent entity. He explains that the only way to get rid of the haunting is through a complex and dangerous ritual. John is hesitant to go through with it, but knows that it's his only chance to get rid of the Bell Witch and regain control of his life. Together, John and James perform the ritual, and the haunting seems to come to an end. However, John knows that the Bell Witch legend and his experience will stay with him forever. As the days go by, strange things start to happen in the house. Doors slam shut, objects move on their own, and there are unexplained sounds like footsteps and whispers. The family members start to hear these noises at all hours of the day and night, and they become increasingly fearful. John tries to investigate the source of the noises, but he can't seem to find any explanation. The family members start to sleep in the same room, hoping that they will feel safer together. However, the noises don't stop, and they start to hear a strange voice calling out their names. One night, John decides to stay up and keep watch over the house. He hears the strange voice again, and realizes that it's coming from inside the house. He follows the voice to the attic, where he discovers a strange symbol etched into the wall. He can't decipher the symbol, but he knows that it must be related to the haunting. John starts to do research on symbols and the supernatural, hoping to find a way to decipher the symbol and put an end to the haunting. However, the more he learns, the more he realizes how dangerous the situation is. He knows that he needs help to deal with the Bell Witch, but he's not sure who to turn to or how to ask for help. As the haunting continues, the Bell family members start to experience physical attacks. They feel as if they're being pinched, slapped, and scratched by an invisible entity. The attacks are becoming more frequent and more intense, and the family members are starting to feel like they're in danger. John decides to set up cameras in the house to capture any evidence of the physical attacks. The cameras capture footage of objects moving on their own, doors slamming shut, and strange orbs of light floating through the house. The footage also captures the family members experiencing physical attacks, with bruises and scratches appearing on their skin. The family members start to feel like they're being watched all the time. They feel as if the Bell Witch is always with them, waiting to attack. They start to become sleep-deprived and paranoid, fearing for their lives. John decides to contact James, the supernatural expert who helped him in the past. James agrees to come to Red River to investigate the situation and try to help the family. When James arrives, he immediately senses the malevolent presence in the house and starts to conduct his own investigation. James concludes that the Bell Witch is indeed present in the house and that it's one of the most powerful entities he's ever encountered. He suggests that they perform a cleansing ritual to try to rid the house of the Bell Witch's presence. However, he warns that the ritual is dangerous and that they must be careful. As the haunting intensifies and the physical attacks become more frequent, the Bell family and James become increasingly desperate to rid the house of the Bell Witch's presence. James suggests that they perform a ritual that involves burning sage and chanting a specific incantation. He believes that this will cleanse the house of negative energy and banish the Bell Witch. However, he warns that the ritual is dangerous and that they must be careful. The family members and James gather in the living room and begin the ritual. They light the sage and chant the incantation, hoping that it will work. However, as they're chanting, they hear a loud banging noise coming from the attic. They realize that the Bell Witch is fighting back and trying to prevent them from completing the ritual. Despite the noise and the chaos, they continue with the ritual, determined to banish the Bell Witch once and for all. As they're chanting, the house suddenly goes silent. They realize that the Bell Witch has disappeared. The family members and James cautiously explore the house, trying to make sure that the Bell Witch is truly gone. As they're exploring, they hear a voice coming from the attic. The voice says, "I'll be back." The family members and James realize that the Bell Witch may be gone for now, but she's not gone for good. They know that they must always be on guard, ready to face the Bell Witch if she returns. Following the Bell Witch's departure from the Bell family, strange things begin to happen in the neighboring town of Red River. People report hearing strange noises at night, and some claim to have seen the figure of a woman hovering above the trees. The townspeople begin to fear that the Bell Witch has left the Bell farm and taken up residence in their own town. Rumors spread about the Bell Witch's power and the terrible things she's capable of doing. Some people even claim that the Bell Witch has the ability to possess people and control their minds. As the days go by, more and more people in Red River report strange occurrences. Some wake up to find their furniture rearranged, while others hear whispers in the night. The townspeople are on edge and afraid to leave their homes. Despite their fear, a group of brave men decide to investigate the source of the disturbances. They gather their weapons and set out into the woods, determined to find the Bell Witch and put an end to her reign of terror. As they make their way through the dark forest, they hear a strange noise coming from up ahead. They approach cautiously, weapons at the ready, But when they reach the source of the noise, they find only a dead tree, its branches swaying in the wind. They realize that the Bell Witch is not to be trifled with, and that they may never be able to fully rid their town of her curse. As the townspeople of Red River continue to experience strange occurrences, they become increasingly convinced that the Bell Witch is responsible. Some people start to see her in their dreams, while others claim to have seen her in the flesh, lurking around town at night. One day, a group of teenagers decide to venture into the woods to try and catch a glimpse of the Bell Witch. They bring with them cameras and recording equipment, hoping to capture some evidence of her existence. As they explore the woods, they come across an old abandoned house. Curiosity getting the best of them, they decide to investigate. As they enter the house, they begin to feel a strange presence. The air grows colder, and they hear a soft humming sound. Suddenly, one of the teenagers is lifted off the ground and thrown across the room. The others run in terror, realizing that they have disturbed the Bell Witch's resting place. The Bell Witch is furious that the teenagers have trespassed on her territory. She vows to make them pay for their disrespect. Over the next few weeks, strange things start to happen to the teenagers. They wake up with bruises and scratches on their bodies, and some of them even report being pushed or pulled by an unseen force. The townspeople of Red River are terrified by the Bell Witch's wrath. They realize that they have angered a powerful and vengeful spirit, and they begin to wonder if they will ever be able to break free from her curse. As the haunting of Red River continues, the Bell family becomes increasingly desperate for a solution. They consult with various spiritual leaders, but none are able to provide a solution. The Bell Witch seems to be getting stronger with each passing day. Finally, a traveling preacher named Joshua Gardner arrives in Red River. He claims to have experience in dealing with evil spirits, and the Bell family invites him to stay with them to help them confront the Bell Witch. Gardner spends several nights in the Bell House, praying and attempting to communicate with the Bell Witch. At first, it seems like his efforts are in vain. But then something strange happens. The Bell Witch begins to speak to him, telling him that she has been cursed by a local woman who was jealous of her beauty and power. She says that she wants revenge on the woman and her descendants, but that she will leave the Bell family alone if they can help her break the curse. Gardner convinces the Bell family to help him break the curse, and they spend several days performing various rituals and ceremonies. Finally, they succeed in breaking the curse, and the Bell Witch disappears forever. The people of Red River are amazed by the power of Joshua Gardner and the Bell family. They are grateful that the Bell Witch is gone, but they also know that they will never forget the terror that she brought to their town. Years after the Bell Witch disappeared, the legend of her haunting continued to spread throughout Tennessee and beyond. The story of the Bell family and their battle with the Bell Witch became a popular subject of books, plays, and even a movie. Many people came to Red River to see the Bell House and the cave where the Bell Witch was said to have lived. Some even claimed to have seen her ghostly apparition or heard her voice in the darkness. Over time, the Bell Witch legend became more than just a scary story. It became a part of Tennessee's cultural heritage, a symbol of the state's rich folklore and history. People still talk about the Bell Witch today, and many believe that her spirit still haunts the land around Red River. In fact, the Bell Witch legend has become so popular that some people have even started to make a living off of it. There are tour guides who will take you to all of the Bell Witch sites, gift shops selling Bell Witch merchandise, and even a Bell Witch beer brewed by a local brewery. Despite the commercialization of the Bell Witch legend, however, the story remains a powerful reminder of the dark and mysterious past of Tennessee, and of the power of the supernatural to capture our imaginations and fuel our fears. As the years went by, many people tried to offer explanations for the strange events that had occurred at the Bell family farm. Some suggested that the Bell Witch was a poltergeist, a malevolent spirit that feeds on negative emotions and energy. Others believed that the Bell Witch was a manifestation of the family's repressed anger and resentment. Despite these attempts at rationalization, however, the legend of the Bell Witch continued to grow. In fact, some say that the Bell Witch never really left Red River, and that her spirit still haunts the area to this day. Over time, the Bell Witch legend became a part of Tennessee's cultural identity, and many people began to view it as a source of pride. People began to take ownership of the story, weaving it into their own family histories and passing it down from generation to generation. Today, the Bell Witch remains one of the most enduring ghost stories in American folklore. While some may dismiss it as a mere legend or a figment of the imagination, others see it as a testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome even the most terrifying of challenges. For those who believe in the Bell Witch, she is a symbol of resilience, strength, and the enduring power of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Even today, people continue to be fascinated by the Bell Witch story. The Bell Witch Cave, located in Adams, Tennessee, has become a popular tourist attraction, drawing visitors from all over the world who are eager to learn more about the legend. Some people claim to have had their own encounters with the Bell Witch, reporting strange noises, unexplained events, and even physical attacks. Others remain skeptical, believing that the Bell Witch is nothing more than a story passed down through the generations. Regardless of one's beliefs, however, the Bell Witch remains an important part of American folklore. Her story has been immortalized in books, movies, and even music, and her legacy continues to live on in the hearts and minds of people all over the world. Ultimately, the Bell Witch story is a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable terror and hardship, people are capable of enduring and overcoming. The Bell family may have been tormented by the Bell Witch for years, but they never lost hope or gave up on each other. In the end, it was their love and devotion to each other that saw them through, and that is perhaps the most enduring legacy of the Bell Witch story. The legacy of the Bell Witch has lived on for over 2 centuries, captivating and terrifying people with its eerie tale. The Bell Witch legend has become an important part of American folklore, with countless books, movies, and even songs dedicated to the story. The Bell Witch has become a pop culture icon, appearing in various TV shows, documentaries, and even video games. People all over the world continue to be fascinated by her story, and many visit the Bell Witch Cave in Adams, Tennessee, to experience the legend firsthand. The Bell Witch has also been the subject of many debates and discussions, with some people claiming that she was a real witch, while others believe that the story was a hoax or a manifestation of mental illness. Regardless of one's beliefs, however, the Bell Witch story has left an indelible mark on American culture. Moreover, the Bell Witch's story also serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of superstition and mob mentality. The Bell family's initial belief that they were being tormented by a witch led to widespread panic and hysteria, which only served to escalate the situation. In the end, it was their faith and perseverance that saw them through, but the story serves as a reminder of the dangers of blindly following superstitions and beliefs. Overall, the legacy of the Bell Witch continues to endure, both as a terrifying tale of supernatural horror and a cautionary tale of the dangers of superstition and mob mentality. As the night wore on, the atmosphere in the Bell house grew more and more tense. The family huddled together, too afraid to even speak. Suddenly, the room was filled with an ear-piercing shriek, and a force pushed John Bell Sr. to the ground. He was unable to move, and his breathing became labored. The witch's voice rang out, declaring that she had poisoned him and that he would never recover. The family watched in horror as John Bell Sr. writhed in agony. They knew that the witch was responsible and that they needed to act fast if they were going to save him. But what could they do? They had tried everything, but nothing had worked. Finally, Betsy Bell spoke up. She said that she had heard that if you gave the witch a dose of poison, she would be forced to lift the curse. The family was hesitant to take such a drastic step, but they knew that they had no other choice. Betsy mixed up a batch of poison and held it out to the witch. The room fell silent as they waited for a response. Finally, the witch's voice filled the room, declaring that she would leave them alone if they promised never to speak of her again. The family quickly agreed, and just like that, the haunting was over. John Bell Sr. never fully recovered, and he died shortly after the incident. But the Bell family knew that they had triumphed over the witch, and that they could finally move on with their lives without fear. As the day of Kate's departure draws near, she senses an increase in the Bell Witch's malevolent activity. Strange noises fill the house at night, and objects move on their own. Kate tries to convince John and his family to leave with her, but they refuse to abandon their home. On the eve of her departure, Kate awakens to find the Bell Witch sitting at the foot of her bed. The witch warns her not to leave and threatens to harm her if she does. Kate stands her ground, refusing to be intimidated by the witch's presence. Suddenly, the room grows cold, and Kate can feel the witch's breath on her face. Kate tries to use her powers to banish the witch, but it proves to be futile. The witch only grows more enraged and violent, causing the entire house to shake. In a final act of desperation, Kate grabs a Bible and begins to read passages aloud. The Bell Witch screams in agony, and the house falls silent. The next morning, Kate says her goodbyes to John and his family, relieved that the witch has finally been vanquished. As she travels back home, she can't help but feel haunted by the experience. She wonders if she will ever truly be free of the Bell Witch's influence.